If someone told you that 6 minutes a day could genuinely change how your body ages, you'd probably assume it was an exaggeration. It isn't. Not in the sense of reversing time itself, but in a very real, measurable sense. The 6 movements I'm about to show you directly target the specific physical declines that most people simply accept as an unavoidable part of getting older. Lost muscle, weakening bones, poor balance, and stiffening joints. None of these require a gym membership, heavy equipment, or an hour of your day. Today, I'm going to walk you through exactly why each of these 6 movements matters, the specific aging process each one pushes back against, how to do each one safely with modifications if you need them, how to structure them into a 6-minute daily routine, and how to progress over time as you get stronger. Let's start with why this actually works. Here's what's happening in the body as we age that most people don't fully understand. Starting as early as your 30s and accelerating significantly after 60, the body naturally loses muscle mass in a process called sarcopenia, and this loss isn't gradual and even. It disproportionately affects the specific muscle fibers responsible for quick, powerful movements, which is exactly why balance and quick reactions tend to decline before raw walking ability does. Bone density also declines with age, particularly for women after menopause, making bones more fragile and slower to heal. Balance and coordination decline due to a combination of muscle loss, slower nerve signaling, and changes in the inner ear and vision. And joints can stiffen due to reduced fluid production and cartilage changes, which often gets misread as arthritis pain when a meaningful part of it is simply reduced mobility from lack of regular movement through a joint's full range of motion. Here's the encouraging part. Every single one of these processes has been shown in research to respond to targeted exercise at any age, including well into your 70s, 80s, and beyond. Muscle can be rebuilt. Bone density can be improved or its decline slowed. Balance can be retrained, and joint stiffness often improves significantly with consistent, appropriate movement. This isn't about reversing aging in some mystical sense. It's about directly counteracting specific, well-documented physical changes that exercise has been shown to meaningfully influence. Before we get into the 6 exercises, let's clear up a few myths that stop people from starting in the first place. Myth 1. It's too late for me to start. Research consistently shows that muscle building and balance improvements occur at essentially any age, including in people starting exercise programs in their 80s and 90s. The body's ability to adapt to exercise doesn't have an expiration date, even though the rate of improvement may look different than it would at 30. Myth 2. I need weights or gym equipment to build real strength. Bodyweight exercises, done correctly and consistently, produce genuine strength gains, particularly for someone who isn't currently doing any resistance exercise at all. The biggest jump in strength and function typically comes from going from zero structured movement to some, not from lifting increasingly heavy weights. Myth 3, if it doesn't hurt, it's not working. This one can actually be harmful. These exercises should challenge you, but sharp or joint pain is a signal to modify or stop, not a sign of progress. Mild muscle fatigue is the goal, not pain. Let's get into the 6 exercises. The first is the sit to stand, a squat variation done using a sturdy chair. This is arguably the single most functionally important exercise on this entire list, because it directly trains the movement pattern behind getting up from a chair, a couch, a car seat, or the toilet. One of the most common physical tasks that becomes difficult as leg strength declines, and one of the biggest predictors of maintaining independence. To do it, sit toward the front edge of a sturdy chair, feet flat on the floor about hip width apart. Lean slightly forward from the hips, then push through your heels to stand up fully, using your leg muscles rather than momentum. Lower back down with control rather than dropping into the seat. If this is difficult at first, it's completely fine to use your hands to push off the armrests or your thighs for assistance. The goal is building the movement pattern and strength over time, not doing it perfectly on day one. As it gets easier, you can progress by using your hands less, and eventually by slowing down the lowering phase even further, which increases the challenge without adding any equipment at all. The second is a modified or wall push-up, targeting upper body strength. Upper body strength tends to decline faster than people expect, and it matters enormously for everyday tasks. Pushing open a heavy door, getting up from the floor if you fall, or carrying groceries. A wall push-up is the most accessible starting point. Stand facing a wall, arms extended, palms flat against it at shoulder height and slightly wider than shoulder width. Keeping your body in a straight line, bend your elbows to bring your chest toward the wall, then push back to the starting position. As this becomes easier, you can progress to an incline push-up using a sturdy countertop or table, which increases the resistance since more of your body weight is being lifted, and eventually to a modified push-up on your knees on the floor, if that's an appropriate progression for your mobility and joint comfort. The third is a reverse lunge or a supported step-up, which combines leg strength with balance. This is where a lot of the balance training benefit of this routine actually comes from, since it requires controlling your body weight through a single leg dominant movement, which mimics real-world movements like climbing stairs or stepping over an uneven surface. Standing near a sturdy chair or countertop for balance support if needed, step one leg backward and lower your body by bending both knees, keeping your front knee over your ankle rather than letting it drift forward past your toes. Then push through your front foot to return to standing. If a full reverse lunge feels unstable, a supported step up onto a low, sturdy step, holding onto a railing or countertop trains a very similar strength and balance pattern with more built-in support. The fourth is a modified plank or a simple core brace for core stability. Core strength is often overlooked, but it's the foundation for nearly every other movement on this list, including standing balance, since your core is what keeps your torso stable while your arms and legs do the moving. A modified version can be done from your knees rather than your toes, forearms on the ground, holding a straight line from your knees through your head, engaging your abdominal muscles without holding your breath. If getting to the floor is difficult or uncomfortable, a standing or seated core brace works too, simply tightening your abdominal muscles as though gently bracing for someone to push you, holding for several seconds, and releasing, repeated for a short set. This trains the same stabilizing muscles without requiring you to get down onto the floor at all. The fifth is a single leg balance hold, sometimes called a tandem stance if you're just starting out. This is the exercise most competing routines skip entirely, and it's arguably the most directly protective one on this entire list, because balance and fall risk are so closely linked, and falls are one of the leading causes of serious injury as we age. Standing near a sturdy countertop or chair for safety, shift your weight onto one leg and lift the other foot slightly off the ground, holding for a few seconds and building up gradually over time. If that's too challenging initially, a tandem stance, standing with one foot directly in front of the other, heel to toe, like walking a tightrope, trains a very similar balance skill with a lower difficulty starting point. The genuine goal here isn't holding a dramatic, unsupported pose. It's training your body's balance systems, the same systems that kick in automatically when you trip or step on an uneven surface, so they respond more effectively when you actually need them. The sixth, and the one that directly targets joint stiffness rather than strength or balance, is a standing spinal rotation combined with gentle hip circles. This is the piece almost every strength-focused routine leaves out entirely, and it matters because joint stiffness isn't just uncomfortable. Reduced range of motion in the spine and hips directly affects how safely and efficiently you move through everyday tasks like turning to look behind you, reaching into a cabinet, or getting in and out of a car. To do it, stand with your feet shoulder-width apart, hands resting on your hips or lightly extended out to your sides. Gently rotate your upper body to one side as far as comfortably possible, keeping your hips facing forward, then rotate to the other side, moving slowly and without any bouncing or forcing the range of motion. Follow this with gentle hip circles, shifting your weight in a slow, controlled circular motion at the hips, as though tracing a small circle with your torso in both directions. Unlike the other 5 exercises, this one isn't about strength or fatigue at all. It's about consistently moving your joints through their full available range of motion, which research has shown helps maintain flexibility and can reduce the stiffness that often gets mistaken for arthritis, when it's actually a mobility issue that responds well to regular, gentle movement. Now let's talk about how these 6 fit into an actual 6-minute daily routine, because knowing the exercises matters less than actually doing them consistently. A simple structure, roughly 1 minute each on the side to stand, the wall or incline push-up, and the reverse lunge or step-up, alternating sides as needed, followed by 1 minute on the modified plank or core brace, 1 minute split between both sides on the single leg balance hold or tandem stance, and finishing with 1 minute on the standing spinal rotation and hip circles to close out the routine with some gentle mobility work. This can be done in workout clothes, or exactly what you're already wearing, doesn't require getting on the floor if that's uncomfortable for you, given the modifications we covered, and fits before breakfast, during a coffee break, or in front of the television in the evening. Consistency matters far more than timing or setting. Let's talk about progression, because 6 minutes today shouldn't necessarily look identical to 6 minutes in 3 months. The most reliable way to progress safely is to gradually reduce the amount of support you're using, relying less on your hands for the sit to stand, moving from a wall to an incline for the push-up, holding the balance exercises slightly longer over time, and gradually increasing the rotation range in the spinal twist as your comfort allows, rather than adding speed or intensity too quickly. A useful general guideline is that if all 6 exercises feel genuinely easy for a full week, that's the signal to progress one of them slightly, not all 6 at once. This kind of gradual, patient progression is what actually builds lasting strength, balance, and mobility improvement without significantly increasing injury risk along the way. Let's cover a few common mistakes that reduce the benefit of this routine or increase risk unnecessarily. The first is skipping the balance and mobility exercises because they feel less obviously effective than the strength moves. As we covered, these are actually 2 of the most uniquely valuable exercises on the list, precisely because they're the ones most people neglect. The second is progressing too quickly, particularly with the push-up and lunge variations. Before the current level feels genuinely comfortable and controlled, strength built on shaky form doesn't transfer well to real-world stability. The third is holding your breath during the core and strength exercises, which can spike blood pressure temporarily. Breathing steadily throughout each movement rather than holding tension is both safer and more effective. And the fourth is doing this routine only sporadically rather than daily. The strength, balance, and mobility benefits we've discussed come specifically from consistent, regular practice, and the 6-minute time commitment is designed precisely to make daily consistency realistic rather than aspirational. I do want to be direct about a few safety considerations before you start. If you have a diagnosed balance disorder, a recent joint replacement, uncontrolled high blood pressure, or any condition affecting your heart or circulation, it's genuinely worth a conversation with your doctor or a physical therapist before beginning this or any new exercise routine, since they can advise on any specific modifications relevant to your situation. A physical therapist in particular can be an excellent resource even for a routine this simple, since they can assess your current balance, strength, and mobility baseline and help ensure your form is genuinely correct on each movement, which meaningfully reduces injury risk and increases how much benefit you get from the time you're putting in. To bring this together, the sit-to-stand rebuilds the leg strength behind everyday independence. The wall or incline push-up restores upper body strength for daily tasks. The reverse lunge or step-up combines strength with real-world balance. The modified plank builds the core stability that supports everything else on this list. The single leg balance hold directly trains the fall prevention system that most exercise routines overlook entirely, and the standing spinal rotation with hip circles maintains the joint mobility that keeps everyday movement comfortable and safe. 6 minutes done consistently genuinely can shift how your body handles the years ahead, not by stopping the clock, but by directly counteracting the specific, well-documented changes that come with it. If this video was useful, the most helpful thing you can do is actually try the routine this week and share it with someone who could use a starting point that doesn't require a gym. Subscribe for more evidence-based health content, and I'll see you in the next one.